My name is Tim O'Sullivan. I've been a sports writer at the Monitor since 2003. And it's my pleasure today to introduce the person who will be giving our address this afternoon. So this man has been the principal at Concord High for the last 14 years, and for all of those years he's been doing his best to inspire all of his students. I got to see that inspiration firsthand this fall when I covered the Concord boys soccer team on their run to the state championship. I talked to different players from the preseason all the way to the end of the last championship game, and they couldn't wait to talk to me about this guy. They couldn't wait to tell me what a motivation, what an inspiration their principal, Gene Connolly, was to them. So as you guys know, Gene was diagnosed with ALS last year, and he's been a role model of tenacity, positivity, and courage as he's battled this disease. The Concord community showed its love for Gene last month when they showed up in the thousands to support the Connolly Tough Walk. And when Luck Ndingwa scored the game-winning goal, that soccer championship match, he ran right over to Mr. Connolly, who was in the middle of a screaming horde of Concord High fans. And after the match, Luck couldn't wait to tell me we were doing this for Mr. Connolly. Now, as it turns out, Mr. Connolly was a pretty good athlete himself back in the day. He ran track at Springfield College, and in his senior year, in his very last meet, he set a school record as part of the 1,600-meter relay team. And to this day, he holds the 7th fastest 400 time in Springfield College history. Now, we're not going to ask him to run a 400 today, unless he wants to. No, all right. But we're honored to have him here. So would you please give a warm welcome to the Concord High principal and inspiration to us all, Gene Connolly.
I want to begin by sharing how honored I am to be invited to speak to this wonderful collection of student athletes. I was also surprised that I was invited because I have lost my ability to speak. I am going to qualify that I have lost the use of my vocal cords, but because of modern technology, I have a machine that allows me to speak while the voice is computer generated. The words are all mine, however. All of you are missing my Boston accent. My new computer-generated voice is called Tom Thomas from somewhere outside of New England. I am not sure where, but think he is from out in the Midwest somewhere. This afternoon I have decided not to give a speech about all the wonderful things you learn from competing in athletics. Instead, I am going to share observations that I have made since being diagnosed with terminal illness 18 months ago. First, learn to pay attention. I recently read an article about the danger of daydreaming. The author of the study was reporting that daydreamers are less happy with their lives than people who live in the moment. We hear that term a lot, how it is important to live in the moment. In all honesty, I am probably the last person who should give this advice. Truth is, I did not appreciate this message until after I was diagnosed. For almost 60 years I have been guilty of always looking ahead, and while that sentiment might have helped with my career, it didn't help me to appreciate all the wonderful moments in my life. Now, I find myself living in the moment more than ever and enjoying more. Be excellent. I remember like it was yesterday when I got my first position as a school administrator. It was at Londonderry Middle School. The principal was Nancy Myers, who within 5 minutes of my entering the building on that first day had me sit down and then told me to never say good enough, because I was now working in Londonderry, and people who were fortunate enough to work in Londonderry knew anything worth doing is done right and never good enough. I remind myself of that advice every day. Another quote that I find useful, especially when I am tired and want to quit and be something less than excellent, is the famous Vince Lombardi quote, Fatigue makes cowards of us all. Try that one out when it is late, you're tired, and you have homework due the next day. Say hello to everyone you see. I am a proud graduate of Springfield College. While I learned many important lessons, there is one I use every day. To greet everyone on campus at Springfield, it was expected that you acknowledge everyone all of the time. That was a real rule on campus. For years I had stood. Now I sit and greet students and staff as they enter the building. It has become a tradition at the school. I like it because the simple effortless task of saying hello usually brings a smile to the receiver's face. Have courage. 3 years ago, our senior class invited CHS alumna and Olympic gold medalist Tara Mounsey to speak at their graduation. One of her messages that day was for graduates to have courage. During the last 18 months, I have found myself thinking about her message. Often courage can make forms. People who are courageous may be frightened and afraid, but they summon the strength to do the right thing. Think before you speak. Now that I have to type my words into a program, I am forever behind in conversations. Many times I will be typing frantically to say something brilliant, and by the time I finish typing it, I look at my message and I erase it because it really wasn't that insightful nor important. Losing my ability to speak has forced me to be a better listener. It is not that I was a poor listener before, but I have become an excellent listener now. I hear more than a person's words. I have a greater sensitivity to a person's tone, the nonverbal message that is every bit as important as their words. This will not be of use for you this afternoon listening to me. As I told you before, my voice is named Tom, and he is from the Midwest and is free of emotion. Embrace gratitude. Expressing thanks for all you have is a lost emotion in our society. If you are ever in the neighborhood, come by and visit Concord High School. Over 15% of our students were not born in this country. Most spent significant time in refugee camps, and after years of waiting to be vetted, they were sent to Concord, New Hampshire for resettlement. Almost 200 new Americans attend Concord High School, and they help make us a better school. Unlike other communities, the city of Concord celebrates their arrival. They enrich us with their culture while we share ours, and of all the lessons they share with us, the most important is that we need to be grateful for all that we have, because if you ask them about their journey, they will tell you there are no bad days living in the United States. Don't be afraid to tell someone that you love them. When I was in high school and college, it was the height of uncoolness to tell someone that you love them, and I followed the rules. Well, I am going to give you permission this afternoon to break the rule. The new rule is, if you love someone, you have to tell them. Tell the truth. Randy Pausch was a professor at Carnegie Mellon. When his doctors told him he had cancer and it was terminal, he gave an interview. The interviewer asked him if he had only 3 words that he could pass on, what would he say? Pausch replied, "Tell the truth." The reporter, not impressed with the answer, asked him if he had another 3 words, what would he say? Pausch replied, "All the time." Family comes first. I realize that you have heard this bit of advice before. I want to give you first-hand testimony how true it is. I am one of 7 children and my wife one of 9. The amount of love bestowed on me from Patty's and my siblings has been overwhelming. The notes Hugs and kisses remind me how lucky I am to be a part of an incredible family. Since getting sick, my daughter and her husband Ryan moved back to Concord and my son moved back home. They have been part of an inner circle of folks who take care of my daily needs, and let me share with you, I have become a lot of work. Lastly, let me tell you about my wife Patty, who teaches and coaches in Hopkins. Patty and I will be celebrating our 35th wedding anniversary later this month. Patty has always been the center of our family. We have raised two talented kids who are both educators and coaches. Our son Jimmy teaches English at Winnicott High School, and our daughter Allie teaches 4th grade in Concord. Soon after being diagnosed, I realized that Patty had it worse than I do. When we were married 35 years ago, it wasn't supposed to end like this. We had started talking about retiring to Cape Cod and getting old together, living by the ocean. The reality is that dream is up in the air. Life is not for the faint of heart. It can be cruel and unfair. Living a fulfilling life can be challenging. Our job is to live our lives with purpose. No one can go it alone. You need the love of your family to give you the strength to deal with life's challenges. That is the end of my list. Let's review. Pay attention. Be excellent. Say hello to everyone you see. Have courage. Think before you speak. Embrace gratitude. Don't be afraid to tell someone that you love them. Tell the truth all the time. And family comes first. Thank you, and thank you for letting Tom speak for me.